Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, it's two podcast type situations in a row today, but this is actually something a little different. We are excited to be with you today to launch another HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence program. And this one is one that I have worked a really long time to bring to fruition. So I am extremely ecstatic to welcome Dr. David Owens from the University of Washington Medical Center, Seattle, Washington, not only officially into the HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence family, but one of the longest battles I've ever endured to get a program up and running just because timing. So, David, welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much for having us on today and for recognizing our center. I know we've known each other for, I think, over 20 years now. Is kind of what I was thinking about. And, so my interest in HCM dates back that far as well. So it has been a long time coming. I'm super excited about, the future collaborations and going forward with this.
Absolutely. So I'm going to remove the card for a minute. Don't worry, we're going to put it back up later. But I wanted to have a conversation with David where I could actually see him.
Yeah.
Okay, so David, yes, we've known each other shortly after you got out of training with Rich Bach.
Yeah.
Wow, I just dated that one, didn't I? What year was that?
2003?
Yeah.
Something like that.
So it's been 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And in that time, you were doing the work, but kind of very independently at first, and then built a team around it. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your background, and then let's learn a little bit about your institution.
Yeah, thanks. I did my medical school residency at Washington University in St. Louis. And then I went out to Washington, D.C. and worked at the NIH. And that's sort of where my passion for HCM evolved. Certainly it started there. But I hadn't done cardiology training at that point. And so I went through the cardiology match program, ended up at the University of Washington. And when I finished the training here, I said, honestly, that this region of the country needs better HCM care. And I feel like I could do it better. And so we hung up a shingle probably in 2009 or 2010. And that's when our hypertrophic cardiomyopathy clinic started. And it's certainly been, just me at first, but now it's certainly grown into a much bigger program as we go forward. So a lot of collaborations with my colleagues in cardiology, but also in interventional cardiology, geneticists, surgeons, all that kinds of stuff, OB. So we've had, I think, a pretty good group right now. So
that is wonderful. And we have been working together the whole time that you've been in Washington. I've been sneaking patients out your way without the formal designation of a center, but that doesn't change the quality care that they had received. So we've been doing this for a long time together, and I have a tendency of not sending you the easy ones too.
Yeah.
So I've sent you some unique genetic profiles and some interesting patients along the years, and your team has done a great job at managing them and evaluating them. So why don't we talk a little bit about the members of your team, and then we'll talk a little bit more about strategies and methodologies used by your institution and your team. So
as you know, it takes a full spectrum of team members to make this work. Just because of the diverse array of things that patients with HCM need care for and support for. So we've worked closely with our electrophysiology colleagues for many years. Chris Patton has been a go-to person she's been here since I started here. She is now on the FDA device panel. So she's got her hands in a lot of the newest device technology when it comes to electrophysiology. And she's exceptionally good at the conversations, the nuanced conversations that happen in and around the sudden cardiac death risk spectrum. We also have another electrophysiologist, Babak Nazar, who came over to us a few years ago from OHSU, where he was part of the HCM clinic there. And he's really our go-to ablationist for HCM. And we are in the process of collecting some data on primary VF ablations as a treatment strategy for patients who go have that as a direct, VF as the direct cause of their cardiac arrests. And so we're collecting that information. So that together, I think from an EP standpoint, we've got a lot of great colleagues who are not only very good and knowledgeable, but also very good at their expertise-wise. We've had a long-standing collaboration with our medical geneticist. Fuki Hisama is the main geneticist that we work with, but Andrew Sturgachis is another medical geneticist that works closely with our cardiovascular genetics clinic and HCM clinics, and they see our HCM patients. We've got a little bit of a unique model here where the geneticists see most of the patients as opposed to the genetic counselors, so we get their expertise right away in that. And, that is ordering the genetic testing, but it's also the variant interpretations, the downstream testing, and also the sort of gene discovery or the variant discovery process that comes as a result of all of that. We're fortunate. The University of Washington is the only heart transplant center in the area. And we have a lot of really good colleagues in heart failure transplant that we work with. April Stempino-Otero is one of our go-to person cardiologists for the transplant process. She has a longstanding interest in genetic cardiomyopathies, HCM, et cetera. And she's been at the university since I've been here as well. So lots of experience there. And then we've got the full spectrum of interventional cardiology. And we're doing not only the alcohol ablations, but the septal myectomies as well. Jamie McCabe is doing that. And then we have Zach Steinberg, who's doing most of our alcohol septal ablations, who's been doing that for a number of years now. And then from a surgical standpoint, a myectomy surgeon is essential. And we have Laura Oetunji, who I think has just a fantastic knowledge base in HCM. She went out to Mayo Clinic, trained with Durrani out there, and really understands. She's got a remarkable understanding of the physiology of HCM, and is able to adapt that to the surgeons that are needed. So she's got excellent at that. She's also becoming our go-to person for mitral valve surgery, and how important mitral valve issues are for patients with HCM.
I think I was very impressed with her skills and with her in general. I think there aren't enough female cardiac surgeons.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to be a name to be reckoned with for many years to come.
Yeah.
So I think you've got a great staff member there. And I want to dive in because one of the things that really struck me, for those who remember, we did a meet and greet last summer in Seattle, and you're like, why are you in town, Lisa? I'm like, well, I'm doing some things. So we were doing the site visit and the review and getting the application ready. And I hear a lot of things from different people in cardiology when I do a site visit. And I'm very rarely speechless at something somebody tells me. And your transplant program has taken a really unique and aggressive approach to a group of patients. It's really a rare group. It would be very unusual for it to affect somebody with HCM, but we have had people who are what they call sensitized.
Yeah.
They have very high antibodies, and it's very hard to get them a matched donor. And they had a really amazing idea about transplanting both the liver and the heart at the same time, which is a really aggressive step, but it's a life-saving step. And can you explain to people why you would do a liver and a kidney, even if the person's liver wasn't failing when they're sensitized? Because I thought what you guys did was fascinating.
Yeah, it is really, I think, revolutionized the approach to these patients who really are stuck because they, in years past, haven't been able to get transplant. You say it's uncommon in HCM, but I have had one woman in particular who was on the transplant list and was highly LE immunized and was not able to get a transplant. And so this has been revolutionary in that regard. And so the idea is that we will, most of the alloimmunization is liver derived. And so if we take out the liver and put a new liver in, then the alloimmunization issue should be overcome. The nice part about it is we don't throw that liver away that we take out. Patients, we actually kind of cascade that off to somebody who needs a liver transplant because there's nothing wrong with it. The liver is usually functioning just normally. So we're able to take that, but also provide a liver for somebody else as well. And so it's been a great solution.
It is a rare one, and I only bring it up during your launch party.
Yeah.
For the purpose of explaining to people, the out of the box thinking is there. And sometimes you benefit from out of the box thinking when you're stuck up against a situation that you really don't have any other resources to get out of. So I love the thinking. I hope you have to use it very rarely, but it's kind of amazing that we have that technology available today to be able to do that. So bravo to the team who had the guts to think about it, and to the patients who had the bravery to try it.
Yeah.
Bravo to them. Bravo to them. So let's talk a little bit about clinical trials. Are you guys doing anything up there right now? Are you active in clinical trials? What's happening?
So we're wrapping up. We certainly were involved in the mavacamten trials initially, and involved in the Sequoia trial. Right now, we're launching, just starting up the SGLT2 inhibitor trial that's coming out. Yeah, the Sonata trial. There you go. I forget which one that was. So we'll be enrolling that pretty soon, and that's where we stand right now in terms of the clinical trial stuff, the clinical trial space. I've been in talks with some folks about trying to maybe bring in some of the gene therapy stuff. That's would be a nice, I think, avenue for us as a program to kind of get involved with, because I think there's a lot of interest in that area, but I think there's some concerns along that as well. We have a lot of, you talked a little bit about the innovative thinking and stuff like that, and I want to just give a couple shout outs here to some of my research partners. And so we have Fareed Musavi and Daniel Yang, both of whom are sort of basic science research, but have a strong interest in sarcomere biology and in sort of the genetics of HCM, and are also practicing clinically, both in our program at the University of Washington, but also at our VA program as well, where Daniel Yang has established an HCM center, and he's providing mavacamten and stuff like that for patients out there. So I think they're doing some really, the NIH funded, cross our fingers, that continues. But I think they're doing some really innovative stuff in terms of advancing the knowledge base behind HCM.
So our hopes to be sent out to continue the life-saving research that NIH is responsible for, and that we 100,000% support here at the HCMA as well. So hopefully we'll maintain the programming that has been really life-saving to our community for years. So you have a very big, robust team. You also have a very large catchment area. You cover a lot of miles.
Yep.
So do all patients need to be seen in downtown Seattle? Do you have satellite programs where they can be seen? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. So we try to do as much telemedicine for patients who are outside the Seattle area. We try to do as much telemedicine as makes sense. Of course, if they need testing done, either stress testing or echoes or whatnot, we prefer that they come in and work with our sonographers because of the expertise that's there. But we try to do as much, make it as convenient as patients if possible. We do have a couple of satellite places where we will see patients, but most of those are within the Seattle region. So we have a site up north at Northwest Hospital. We have a site out east at the East Side Cardiology. So there's a couple of places here where we do see HCM, and we have HCM providers. But just before this our session here today, I was on a telemedicine call with somebody from Idaho, and she'll be coming in for surgery next month.
Wow. Okay. So I learned about the WAMI region and the WAMI-O region. So for those on the East Coast, that's kind of like our Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Alaska. Whether or not you consider the O or not, that's a whole other story. So this is a very large region with not dense population.
Yeah.
So it can take, these patients a long time to physically get to a center. 5-6 hour drives are not uncommon in this region. So having the availability to include telemedicine just adds to the robustness of the program. What else can we talk about your program? So you have a relationship with the Children's Hospital to screen the kids.
Yep.
And we're working with them to try to elevate that program a little bit more. So that's coming in coming weeks. Hopefully we'll get there before we come back to the Seattle area, which will be next July. We're going to do an in-person meeting, and considering like 40 people signed up just for a meet and greet to come and talk for a little bit, I'm hoping that we get a few hundred people to come on out and join us for a day of HCM education. Stacy, if you would be so kind as to drop the date of that event into the comments here, that way we can make sure everybody knows it's the last Saturday in July. I know when the good weather in the area is, so we're coming out for the good weather. And somebody might be staying for a few extra days for vacation, an odd thing for me to do. So we're really looking forward to coming out and seeing everybody in that area. I know it's taken us a really long time to get to that top corner of the United States, but thankfully we have options for you in Washington State now. I'm going to put back up your slide, so if people want to make an appointment. What's the wait time for new patients to be seen? And they have the scheduling phone number here. So what do they need to do to make an appointment?
Certainly just, that's the telephone number to call. They can always put in a sort of referral through the Epic system or, whatever system it is, and fax it over, and we can get that going for them. Whenever we get new referrals, we triage them. So anything that is more pressing, we have urgent add-on slots for those patients as well. So if somebody needs to be seen early, we can definitely do that.
So I can definitely tell you that when I have called and said, David, I have somebody who's in trouble, I'm always amazed at how fast you can get somebody in an urgent situation. But let's try not to have urgent situations. Let's try to plan ahead. Schedule your appointments at least 30 to 60 days in advance so you have time to get all your paperwork and insurance approvals together. But in an emergency, give us a call. We'll see what we can do to help things out a little bit. It is not a small process to become an HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence. Here, you want to see his application? You want to see what an application looks like? This is the application. It is all in paper. Unfortunately, we killed a few trees in the cause, but it's really important for us to do a deep dive to see what research is being done, who the team members are, who the leadership is, because this isn't something that exists for an appointment. Setting up a program is something that's going to be there throughout the history of the institution. And it is important to maintain a really strong infrastructure to make sure patients get the care that they need and stay safe. So I thank you for going through all of the arduous process of collecting all of this information and sending it on over and having the site visit and having us come on out and meet the full team in person after all these years. It was great to come on out and see you, and we're really excited for the people of your region that they now have some better treatment options available to them where they can stay safe and supported. And I'm sure many of your patients have community cardiologists that they're also working with. That collaboration is important, but HCM is complicated, and we want to make sure that people, I did the wrong button. We want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to get the highest level of care possible. So I will kind of lead to, we've got a couple questions coming in here we'll get to in a second. But why did you get bit with the HCM bug? What is it about HCM that keeps you fired up about treating this patient population?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's a lot of combination of things. But I think ultimately it comes down to the idea that I feel like I'm making a difference. And that through my sort of personal, the things that I'm good at kind of thing, the echo imaging, the physiology, the patient communications, all that kinds of stuff. And I think putting that all together, it makes a lot of sense for me to be in this space. But I also really enjoy the fact that, I care for not only the patient, but the patient's whole family in many cases. And so we follow not only the patient, but their kids or their parents, or in some cases, all of those. And sort of get relationships. And once you sort of have a relationship with somebody, you continue that relationship. And that grows over time, and you really understand the patients and what their wishes are and how best to treat them and serve them. So.
I couldn't agree more. It's the families, it's the relationships. So a couple of weeks ago at HCM Awareness Day, we had an open house. I like, okay, what are we going to do different this year? Let's have everybody come see the new office. And a gentleman came in that I hadn't talked to since the 90s. And he's like, I just wanted to come and show you some support because you got me to surgery back then. I've been doing so well. And I just wanted to come and say thank you in person. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So it's not transactional. It's not that one event. It's this lifetime of relationship building with families and making sure that we're keeping them as safe as possible and providing them with the latest treatment options in the safest way possible. So we do have a question about something we brought up earlier. Stephanie wants to know if you're using SGL2s in HCM right now. We are doing this trial with Lexicon called Sonata, which is an SGLT1/2 combination drug. Are you using SGLTs in HCM at this point?
Yeah, we are, both for patients with systolic and basically for patients with heart failure or heart failure-based symptoms. We found it to be very helpful in patients who are symptomatic with heart failure. And sometimes we've actually added it in for patients who don't have all that much symptoms, but have clear evidence of elevated filling pressures. Yeah, I think it's been really helpful in that regard. And I expect the interesting thing about the Sonata trial, if I remember correctly, is that it involves both both obstructive and non-obstructive patients. And it's that obstructive arm that we haven't usually treated patients with as of yet, just because of the concerns about what that might be due to the obstruction. So I'm very curious as to how that Sonata trial will play out in that regard.
I sit with you in the I'm curious. I mean, I've seen a lot of off-label use of SGLT2s in HCM for probably about 2 or 3 years now. It makes sense, definitely, in the end-stage heart failure. They're heading to transplant. Let's just throw something else on there, see if we can help them do a little bit better. But I think it might actually do some good in obstruction, but we'll see. Who knows? The great thing is this is an add-on therapy, so you can be on literally any drug that is currently being used to treat HCM up to and including Camzyos, and you can still be eligible for the trial. I think amiodarone might be a contraindication for the trial, but otherwise you can just be on background therapy and give it a shot. So we did a recruitment survey for the Sonata trial, and we're pretty much capped out right now. So if they want us to send them more referrals, we can do so. But I think I might have a couple in the Washington area because your site wasn't open yet. Yeah. So we might have some referrals for you. Shh, don't tell. We'll send them over shortly. But I think we have a note from Dawn. That was such a wonderful testament to all you do. So she likes that. Dawn, you're a frequent flyer now. I see you every week on Fridays. It's really nice to have you back with us again. Thanks for your comment. So we continue to build the system that is the HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence program. It started with the best in the field back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and it has grown to include all the different regions of the country. And now we're working on international programming. So we're really excited about getting it out of the States and off to everybody else. It will look a little bit different. So in other countries, but we are happy that as of today, we have 56 active HCMA recognized centers of excellence in the United States, and 2 in Washington, and 1 that I've been trying to get on the team for a long time. And I'm teasing David about this mostly because he was so overworked and he didn't have any help for a while to get him that administrative support to get the application in, because it is no small feat. So I'm super proud to say you're a part of the network now, and we're very happy to have you here. And again, if you would like to make an appointment, the number's on the screen right now, and you can also find their directory listing on the HCMA website at 4hcm.org/COE/UW. So you can find all the information on the program there, and in a short while, you will find this video up there as well. So a couple of other questions here. Oh, now we have chatty people wanting to talk to us. Let's see what we have going on here. So Stephanie was saying that she's on it, transplant. So she's post-transplant, and it's definitely helped her. And wow, I think was to the 56 centers. So Stephanie, great to see you from over the pond. Stephanie's in the UK. So interesting perspective from the UK on their use of SGLT2s, but in the post-transplant community. Okay, so David, I'm going to give you the rest of your Friday afternoon, and it is 4:45 here on the East Coast, and I've worked transcontinental this week. It feels like a year. I was in Sweden earlier this week at a conference there, and lots of good things happening with our Swedish organization because our international programs are starting to flourish. So yay to them. And now we're back here in the United States dealing with all of the things. All of the things. I will make one comment which will mark this in time forever. We are very concerned at the HCMA that a number of our families will potentially lose access to health care if Medicaid is dismantled. We have about 20% of our population who get health care only because of Medicaid. I encourage you to reach out to your elected officials and let them know if you believe it is important to maintain access to health care for the most vulnerable among us. And that is those individuals with low income and chronic disease. So please reach out and let your thoughts be known. We will be working tirelessly to ensure all people have access to health care and the health care that they want. Not forced upon anybody, but we need access to care for patients with genetic heart muscle disorders. We will be in Washington, D.C. on April 9th in the Rayburn Building conducting a briefing to let everybody know what we need as a community and to hopefully ensure access to care for all who need it. So that ends my March 21st, 2025 comments, and I'm hoping that in short order we will right the ship and do what is right for the people. So on that note,
can I just say one thing, Lisa?
Absolutely.
And that's a thank you for being persistent and getting us on board and helping us with all the program that is needed to make this come about. But also, over the 20 years that I've known you, all the stuff that you've done to enhance the care of patients with HCM and all of these centers of excellence and the networking and everything else is not sort of I'd say know somebody kind of thing, but it's actually enabled the clinical trials to take place. Without the centers of excellence, I don't think there would be clinical trials like they are today. And so all the work you've done and everything else is just been fantastic over the last 20 years, and appreciate that and appreciate your persistence as we slowly got to this place, to this part. So
persistence or tenacity, I don't know which one's going to get me further, but I'll tell you a little secret. It was part of the plan. About 20 years ago, a couple people came and said they'd like to do clinical trials, but there's just not enough patients in one spot. Maybe it was 25 years ago, actually. Yeah. And I said, I can work on that. And by building the centers, you build the silos of patients where clinical trials become possible. And we proved that with a concept drug 2013 to an active clinical trial 2015 to a completed clinical trial and a label by 2022. Yeah. That is as fast as you can possibly get a new novel therapy. This wasn't a twist on another drug. This wasn't adding a molecule to something else and saying, well, maybe it works better. This was brand new concept of myosin inhibition. And the myosin inhibitors have really made a marked difference in the lives of patients and the clinicians and how we do HCM now. It's different. And there'll be another myosin inhibitor to market hopefully by September, October of this year. And we will have more options for patients. But this is only possible because the ecosystem came together, and that is patients, families, clinicians, clinical trialists, industry, the government, the FDA, the NIH, and to some extent the CDC. So all of our governmental systems were required to ensure that we could provide safe medications and therapies, including implantable defibrillators, to patients. So not everybody understands how the whole system works, but the whole system is needed. You can't just have pick and choose little parts of it. The infrastructure needs to be there. And I'm happy to pay my income taxes to go towards it. And I know a lot of other people are too.
Yep.
So we all need to remember how we built all of it and make sure that we continue to focus on what we need to do to ensure healthcare access for all. So thank you for the kind words. Thank you so much for not just saying that crazy lady from Jersey's after me again. I understand that being a great clinician is part of the equation. Having institutional support is a second piece of the equation. And then having time to do the administrative things to make programs grow is hard. And it's getting harder. So I appreciate you prioritizing this process for your patients. And I'm super excited to have you on our team.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity to highlight our program today.
Absolutely. Happy to have you here. Go have a great Friday and send my best to the rest of the team.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks. And that'll wrap up this edition. And you can see it replayed on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, or you can go to the directory listing. Have a great day.